Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Switch 2 and the reveal timing of Nintendo's Switch successor, because out of nowhere, somehow, Pyoro has returned and is seemingly teasing some sort of imminent Nintendo Switch 2 announcement, or at the very least that's how I and many others are interpreting it. Let's talk about it. Alrighty folks, good Sunday morning. I hope your day is treating you well. So yesterday I posted a video talking about the Yooka-Laylee announcement and how at the end of the trailer, they very blatantly tease that this remake or remaster of Yooka-Laylee from 2016 is coming to the Nintendo Switch successor. They have these eyes pop up on the Nintendo logo, and that's a pretty big deal. I would say that's the first major game we've had officially teased, basically, for the Switch 2. We've had a couple other smaller things, some smaller indie games, but in terms of a major game, Yooka-Laylee is very popular. To have this tease so blatantly in a trailer for this game, we haven't really seen anything like that yet for the Switch 2. So that was one thing. Then we had the marketing manager of Nintendo UK reply to that tweet with an eye emoji, kind of egging on the speculation and, making people talk even more. Now, it seems like he maybe realized that was a mistake, or maybe he even got fired. God forbid, I truly hope that he did not get fired over something so stupid as a tweet, but he tweeted out an eye emoji, he deleted it, his account's on lockdown now. So that's what I talked about yesterday. I wanted to catch you up on that so you know what's going on here, but basically, Yooka-Laylee, eye emoji, UK marketing manager, all kind of teasing Switch 2 things all at once. Yesterday morning, something very, very strange happened. Something that I was not expecting to happen. Pyoro returned, teasing some sort of Nintendo announcements. We have not seen Pyoro tease a Nintendo announcement, I believe, since back in July. We had him talking a little bit about Emio when that was being teased. I believe he actually did say at the time that it was a Famicom Detective Club game. And most recently, back in September, right before TGS, he tweeted out Ra and Pi, which were actually related to Sega announcements that later happened at TGS, of course. Pi being Pirate in Hawaii, so Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii. And then I think Ra was Rent a Hero Z or something, some free-to-play game. So he's been kind of active, but in terms of Nintendo, Pyoro has been very inactive for quite a while. And if you're new here and you don't know who Pyoro is, Pyoro was the famed leaker who literally knew every first-party Nintendo announcement from September 2022, I believe, all the way up until Nintendo World Championships in May. He leaked that game a little bit in advance, or at least kind of teased what it was. Then he kind of lost his source around the June Direct. People kind of figured out where he was getting his information from. It seems like he was getting his information from the eShop backend, or his source was. So that's kind of what happened there. He's been mostly MIA ever since, except for a couple things here. But looking at his account, he actually updated his name as well as his banner profile picture here. And, normally this would mean nothing. However, Pyoro, if you follow Pyoro the way I have and many others in the Switch 2 speculation community, you know that this guy, first of all, hasn't really missed. He has never said with his full chest out, hey, this game is getting announced, and then it wasn't announced. The closest time he's been to being wrong, and this is kind of subjective to be fair, was when he said the June Direct this year was going to be light. That's because Nintendo had plugged the eShop backend source. They weren't uploading the pre-order pages for those games as early as they had been with previous Directs. So I believe the only game he knew was coming for the June Direct was My Summer Vacation from the Japanese version of that Direct. He didn't leak Brothership, he didn't leak Echoes of Wisdom, he didn't leak Mario Party Jamboree because he couldn't. But he didn't say okay, well, these games are happening and then they didn't happen. He just said it was a light Direct based on the information he had available to him. It's not like he was actually wrong about a new game existing. So I would say he's never really just blatantly been wrong about something, and every time he updates his Twitter name or his banner or his profile picture, usually something is happening, and usually something is happening imminently. Pyoro's teases, as far back as his account has been, for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, when he starts teasing or tweeting something, whatever he's teasing usually ends up happening a couple days later, maybe a week at most, but usually it's a very short tease to actual thing happening kind of window here. So looking at his Twitter account, as you can see, first things first, he changed his name to the eye emoji. Now, Pyoro's not stupid. It's possible this isn't related to Switch 2. However, he's not stupid. He knows that by making his name the eye emoji after that ukulele trailer yesterday, after the whole Nintendo marketing manager debacle that occurred, he knows people are going to look at the eye emoji and think, okay, well, obviously that's going to be Switch 2 related, right? Because everybody's talking about ukulele and those dang eyes. He also changed his banner to Nintendo Alarmo, just a picture of Alarmo. Now, I'll be honest, my first thoughts on this of what he could possibly be teasing here was kind of erring on the side of like, just not that exciting. Maybe he was literally teasing when the next Nintendo Alarmo free update's gonna be, and that'll happen in a couple days. Maybe that's what it was. But the more I think about it, the more I think about what Pyoro has leaked and talked about in the past, the more I don't really think that makes sense. I don't really know why he would have information on something so hyper-specific as a Nintendo Alarmo theme, but also I frankly don't think he would even bother to leak that or tease it. Usually whenever Pyoro teases something, it's an actual like new announcement and not just like a thing happening, so like an Alarmo update or whatever, I don't really think would fit here. So, barring that, I don't know what else he could be teasing other than Switch 2. I guess it could just be like a general, hey, look at me, Nintendo fans, give me attention. I'm doing the eye emoji thing. I got Alarm in my banner, right? Maybe he's just teasing general Nintendo news happening in this coming week. Maybe it's a Pokemon trailer, maybe it's Metroid Prime. But given everything else going on, and given the investor meeting happening on November 5th, given that if the Switch 2 is releasing in the first half of next year, as I've discussed ad nauseum on this channel, if it's releasing, let's say March or April, they need to announce it basically in the next like 5 or 6 days. Like it basically, it needs to happen this week or by the investor meeting on November 5th. And initially I was thinking, well, maybe they could announce it very early in November. But when you actually look at the calendar, that is the weekend. So Friday is the 1st, Saturday is the 2nd, Sunday the 3rd, obviously. And then Monday the 4th, which is where maybe it could have happened, is actually a national holiday, an observed holiday in Japan. So I don't think it's very likely at all that it gets announced before the investor meeting. It's possible they have a press release or some sort of information comes out on November 5th when they actually have their investor meeting. So that would be Monday night for us on the 4th. But if we're actually getting like a proper reveal with a trailer, this is the week. It has to be the week. And I have been very... After September 19th, when everybody thought it was going to get announced, I've been a little burned, you know. I that was the one time in the past 2 years I really put my poker chips on the table and was like, okay, I actually think this is going to happen now. The lack of a September Direct I thought was really peculiar, and it's still peculiar. You know, we got past September and a lot of people were like, oh, it just didn't mean anything. I think both can be true. We can be at the end of October and still acknowledge the fact that the lack of a September Direct, the lack of first-party Nintendo game announcements and news in general recently has been very weird. They've been very quiet on that front. You know, we have stuff like Alarmo, we have stuff like the Switch Online playtest, but in terms of like their first-party software for Switch and maybe even Switch 2, like they have been very quiet. So I think this week has to be the week, basically is what I'm saying. I'm putting my poker chips in again on this one because I really just don't see another time frame that makes sense if it is releasing in the first half of next year, which I do believe that. Genuinely, I believe that. Now, looking back at Pyoro's account here, people are trying to look into what's actually written on the Alarmo. This is just a press image that they put out, like a stock photo of the device. People are trying to look into the dates and the time. You know, people are saying, well, maybe March 10th, that could be the release date of the Switch 2. Maybe they'll release it that day alongside the new 3D Mario, because then you kind of have that synergy there of it being Mario Day alongside this new 3D Mario and it being the 40th anniversary of the Mario franchise. So they were thinking that. So I saw some people saying that. I don't think that checks out because March 10th is a Monday. Nintendo releases stuff on Thursdays now, so I don't think that's the case. 9:23, I don't really think you can glean anything from that. The only thing you can maybe get from this is 7 a.m. or 7 o'clock. Nintendo, traditionally, at least here in America on the West Coast, 7 a.m. is when they usually tweet out stuff. That's when they like announce directs. So maybe if you want to look into something here, maybe it just means like, okay, set your clocks for 7 a.m. tomorrow or 7 a.m. this week, and you'll get your announcements one of these days. I don't think it means anything though. I think none of the actual like numbers on here correlate to when we can expect the Switch 2 announcements. I think it's more just him saying, look at my eye emoji. I'm teasing Switch 2. It's time. I think it is as simple as it is time. Alarmo is a clock. It is time for the Switch 2 reveal. That's how I am interpreting this teasing going on Pyoro's account. So that, I would say, is the major event over the past 24 hours. Literally just this Twitter account changing their name to an eye emoji and uploading an Alarmo banner, which on the one hand sounds so ridiculous that we'd make a big deal out of it. On the other hand, given the context of what Pyoro has been in the past, 2 years, it means something is happening. Whether or not it's Switch 2 related, that remains to be seen. I interpret it as it being Switch 2 related. However, either way, if it's not, we should be getting something happening in the coming days. Now, there was something else that I wanted to mention that happened on PH Brazil's YouTube account. So PH Brazil, I've talked about a lot on this channel. Of course, this is the person who originally said the Switch 2 was not coming out in 2024, went against the grain and, you know, kind of made waves that way. He was on a video and said something pretty interesting that I wanted to talk about. Now, clarification here is important. It is just speculation. He is saying it is just speculation. However, this is the person who, you know, said the Switch 2 wasn't coming out in 2024 when everybody was disagreeing with that. He was the person who said that Nintendo was moving their presentations that they normally have in September up to August. What did they do? They put all of their presentations in August. They didn't have a single presentation in September. In this YouTube video, and I'll have it linked down below, it is in Portuguese, so I'm reading a bit of a translation here. It says, quotes, "I don't know when the Switch 2 is going to be announced. I have conjectures and informed speculation at best. Like, folks in the industry think it's going to be this because of certain things, because of certain games that need to be announced soon for Switch 2. So I don't know when it is, but I think it's next week. I don't know, maybe Monday or Tuesday." So even Brazil, this person who, you know, has sources and is saying, once, just to be clear, this is speculation, but this person who has sources, who knows about Nintendo's presentation plans, who heard that the Direct Partner Showcase was moved up from September to August, who originally was the first person to report the Switch 2 was not released in this year, you know, going against the grain there, is saying he thinks it's happening Monday or Tuesday. Just based on speculation, informed speculation, which is important to note, but he thinks it's happening literally, you know, in 48 hours or so. I think that's pretty big. I know it is just speculation and it is just one guy saying it, but I think it's worth talking about because this is like the guy, you know, like this is the guy who is currently saying it's releasing in Q1 2025. And I guess given that context, right, given his reporting from earlier this year, saying it's releasing in Q1 2025, he's kind of pinned down right now on saying he thinks it'll be announced this week. If that is to remain true, if a Q1 of 2025 release is to remain on the table, it kind of has to be announced this week, as I've discussed. So maybe it is less his like a natural speculation and more so just like, well, if that original source that told him Q1 2025 is to remain accurate, it basically has to be now. So I wanted to include that just because I do think it is interesting. And I also wanted to talk about this because, you know, I talked about in yesterday's video and I've gotten more comments since being like, I don't think this is the week for the Switch 2 because there hasn't been enough rumors. There haven't been enough insiders saying it's happening this week. And I talked about it in yesterday's video, and I want to reiterate it here. When the Switch was announced back in 2016, we had basically nothing up until like the day before when Emily Rogers and I believe the Twitter account at ZHugeEX or something along those lines, like it wasn't until they said something like 24, maybe 36 hours before that we knew, okay, Nintendo is going to announce the NX imminently. So I don't think the lack of like multiple reports from like Eurogamer and Video Games Chronicle and IGN, I don't think the lack of reports on this thing actually really makes a difference or is really telling because we've seen back in 2016 it didn't need to be the case, right? We didn't need to have all those reports suggesting a reveal this week. We needed like one insider. You know, Emily Rogers was our main Nintendo insider back then. She said it was happening like 24 hours before, and then it happened. So if we're getting a tease from Pyoro, even though he's not directly saying Switch 2, I would say that's almost equal. You know, I would say like, okay, if what he is actually teasing is Switch 2 related, that's our smoke. That is the smoke for this entire week, I would say. And of course, beyond that, there's some logical reasoning here with the investor meeting happening next week. They want to announce it a little bit beforehand. They can talk about it to their investors, talk about estimated shipments, all that fun stuff. Maybe even announce like, hey, we're going to do a presentation in the beginning months of next year where we announce even more games. I think it really is feeling like this week is the week. And, you know, if it doesn't happen, so be it. Like I've talked about before, there's so many games to play right now. I'm so swamped with great games to play, not just on Nintendo, but also on PlayStation and other platforms. But even just on Nintendo, right? Like Mario Party Jamboree, I still haven't even opened Mario Party Jamboree. I'm so excited to play them. I just haven't even had time. And now we have like Sonic Generations and East 10 and Romancing Saga. So for me, there's plenty to play. I'm not going to be too bummed if this thing isn't announced this week. I know I'll get a lot of mean comments being like, oh, I can't believe you were wrong about it again. And I mean, that's just how it's going to be. But if it doesn't happen, then yeah, I mean, we're basically moving to what, like a March reveal, which I really don't want to be the case because I want the Switch 2 to release early next year so we can see the console and most importantly, actually get our hands on those new games as soon as possible. New 3D Mario, new Splatoon or Animal Crossing, whatever it's going to be. Sakurai's new game. I didn't even do a video talking about Sakurai's new project that he confirmed has been in development since, what, April 2022. That might be something I still want to go back and cover and talk about a little bit more in depth. There's going to be so many exciting games coming out. If the Switch 2 doesn't release until November of next year, that's disappointing, right? Because that could mean a pretty quiet year unless, Metroid Prime 4 and Legends EA do hit early in the year next year, which they probably will. So I guess even if it doesn't happen until November, there will still be some stuff to look forward to in 2025. But I'm rambling at this point. Let me know your thoughts on all these new developments down in the comments below. What do you think Pyoro is teasing? I think it's time. I really do think it's happening, guys. So, yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch news, coverage, content, all that fun stuff. I will definitely be doing more videos as the week goes on. If it happens, if it doesn't, either way. If it doesn't happen, I guess I'll do another video just being like, it didn't happen, guys. Time to be sad. But yeah, until next time, folks. Peace.